Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. So good. Let me see. How is this? I want to see. So where are you at again?
Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh, let me wait. What do I want to do? Yep, this is good. Why there? I've never been.
So my fiance, this is where her family they've been going here for years and years. So um, that's kind of where we ended up going. We're here. We're staying in our own place, but we're here with them. So
Okay.
it's my first time here. So
Oh, that sounds so cool though. Like Ocean City. Yeah, totally.
yeah, it's a cute little place.
Oh, so, yeah, I definitely feel that it's like a great time for you to dive into your story. And I'm so glad that it was like, you're like, I'm ready to do that. And I was like, well, good, because I was going to ask you anyway.
I know. I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Um, so a little bit of, well, I mean, basically how I envision all of this going. And really, what was also really clarified for me yesterday is in getting vulnerable and sharing our naked hearts, um, is that I really want this to also be a place for resources, for people to connect to healers, like us, and to be able
Right.
to know the energy that we contain, that where people can reach out to. So I think that's also a really beautiful thing to bring about here as well. Um, and I want to share with the audience how we met. So, which is really just odd because not odd, but I think it's just so cool how when we embark on the spiritual awakening or unbecoming process, like how people just come to us and we're like, oh my gosh, I totally like feel that person. And with our group in Awake, that's how I felt with you. I was like, I'm gonna be his friend. Like,
Right. It's crazy because once you start, like you said, once you start this journey, it's like you could just see how everything adds up, for the bigger picture or like the bigger purpose in your life, you
yeah,
see how it like ties into you and your story. And it's definitely a beautiful process.
yeah. And it's a little it's frightening at times because you don't know what the hell is happening yet, you're being asked to
Right.
trust this thing, this energy. So yeah, I guess when we both started talking about like, oh, our past, I was like, yeah, okay, I get you. Like we're for sure we're here to love on people for sure.
Right.
So yes, and I'm just excited to hear you go into how, well, just all of it. However it comes forward to you, however it comes through, just trust that spirit is speaking, using you as a tool basically to reach whoever needs to hear it. So take it away.
That's actually funny too, because I was talking to my wife before I got on, and I was like, honestly, like I was so pumped and ready, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, I'm sitting here trying to think of like what I want to say or where I want to start, but it's like for me, all the trauma kind of jumbles in together.
Mm.
So it's like for me, it feels like it was just one event, but for it wasn't. It was years. So I just had a moment. I was like, that's crazy how when we endure so many events in our life, it kind of just feels like it's not that big of a deal. Like it's just, oh, I went through that, but like it doesn't feel as big as it was, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it happened over years and years. It feels like, it happened in a day. Um, so
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, we talked about, drugs and alcohol, and my parents, they were both alcoholics. So I grew up um, taking care of my mother. My dad
Mhm.
was a violent alcoholic, so he would often come home and, get violent and harm her and my sister and I. So I learned from a young age to kind of be the caretaker in a way to where I would make sure that those events didn't happen. I would make it less likely that those events would happen by cleaning up my mom and trying to get her sober and taking care of my younger sister and, the house. And so I never really got to be a kid, I guess. Just because my mom was an alcoholic to where she wasn't a functioning alcoholic. So she was very much like taking care of like a toddler. And I love my mom. Um, I always loved my mom, but she had her issues. Um, and my dad, he was the violent alcoholic. So, you put those two together and it's not necessarily a good mix. Um, yeah. So yeah, I grew up around drugs and alcohol and, uh, just unsafe situations, not, good people. I think honestly, the only thing that really got me through it was my sister. Having someone that needed me to be safe at that time. Um, so like protecting her kind of saved me because I feel like if I didn't have her to protect, I probably would have gave up. And or I wouldn't be the person I am today. I could have ended up going down the same path as my parents did. So I'm very grateful for my sister. I feel like she's definitely like a guardian angel for me. So I'm definitely blessed to have her.
How much
Um,
younger is your sister?
she's 2.5 years younger.
Okay. And she's the only sibling that you have?
No, so I have two older half brothers.
Okay.
They're about 10 years older. We didn't really grow up together, and then I have um, five step siblings, and I was probably about 12 when I met them. So,
Okay. I guess I'm curious, and I know we've talked about this a little bit. So you and your sister both did not experience any like substance abuse things happening coming from a situation like your parents?
oh, like us personally
Yes.
using substances.
Yeah.
So for me, actually, um, I didn't like drugs or alcohol or just because I really I saw what they did to people and I didn't like how you know it made my parents. So I actually, when my friends would go out and party, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing all that. Like I want to have fun. Like let's go hiking or camping or something. But I think I graduated high school, so my freshman year of college is when I started drinking. Um, and I quickly learned that, like my parents, there was no control with that. There was, like I would just keep going until I was passed out on the floor. So, um, I mean, it didn't last long. It lasted maybe It lasted longer than it should have. It lasted like 2 months. And, me and my friends, we'd be drinking from like 8 o'clock in the morning until we went to bed that night. Wasn't going to class. I wasn't going to practice, so I had a, I had a moment of realization, and it was like, for me, like looking back on it, it was like this big moment. It was it was my friend's birthday party, and we were all at her room, and we were drinking, and something happened to where she got upset with us, and she like stormed off and left. So me and my one friend, we were like, screw it, we're gonna go drive up to the mountain, which I'm from Colorado, so the mountain wasn't far. It was like 10 minutes down the road. But it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were both drunk, and I wasn't gonna drive drunk. So my friend was like, "No, I'm gonna drive. I'm fine." Um, so we drive up there, and we're sitting on the side of the mountain, and we're still drinking, but we're sitting on the cliff, and the sun is starting to come up. And she said something to me, and she just started bawling. And in that like moment, I looked over at her, and I saw like just this brokenness, this pain, just like, and I was like, why are we
Mm.
why are we masking, the root of it with, this drug? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why it's not making the pain go away. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I was just like, yeah, I can't go down this path.
So even like just in that realization, you were able to be like, yeah, this isn't like how I feel I'm meant to be expressing my life.
Yeah, yeah,
And then able to stop. Okay, I mean, that's really beautiful because there's so many times, people they don't have that clarity that it's not for them, like, oh, let me just try it another time. Let me see if maybe next time I'll feel differently about it.
yeah. I don't really like alcohol in general. Like now, if like I go out to eat with like, like if we were to go out to eat tonight, I could have like one beer and
Right.
drink it throughout dinner and not like have another. But I'm not really like, I don't like the taste. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It makes my brain all foggy, and anymore it like lasts more than just that day. It lasts days. I'm just something I'm not interested in. But yeah, actually, that was the moment I decided that I was joining the military. So
Mm.
yeah, because it wasn't just like, there was other things that the drinking was causing issues with. Like I got my scholarship. Sorry, someone's calling. I got my scholarship taken away.
Oh,
Almost got kicked out of school. Luckily, the dean, he talked to me, and he had sympathy. So he was like, "I'm not going to kick you out, but you know, things need to change." Um, at the time, the girl I was dating ended up breaking up with me because the friend that I was actually drinking with on the mountain um, had a crush on her and kind of was telling her things that weren't true. So me and that girl actually ended up getting in an altercation. Um, and yeah, so I was fighting people, and obviously at that time, I mean, I'm trans, so at that time I was still a female, so fighting people and drinking and getting my scholarship taken away, which I actually had to pay back, um,
oh,
which was
yeah.
also part
Oh,
of the reason I joined the military, because it was $40,000. So
that's it. So, I mean, I chuckle because I'm just like, damn. So, like, when it comes, like, sometimes we're just like pushed,
yeah,
like, to go into this space of like desperation, really. you know,
right,
like, seeing another way. Some,
I'm sorry, hold on.
that's okay.
Hey, Uncle Chad's been calling. I have to do this, my love. Sorry, her uncle's supposed to drop off a cake for a surprise birthday party, but she doesn't answer her phone very well.
Oh, okay. So he's been calling, like, what
Yeah.
the hell? Okay, no worries. So, yeah, okay. So nonchalantly, you kind of threw in there that you're trans. You're
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
and I'm trans.
I said I fought a girl. I didn't want anyone to think I was just out here hitting women, but I mean, like to,
I didn't
I
even
don't
think
like to
of
fight
that.
anyone, but very much not a physical person anymore. But yes,
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, see, I didn't even think of that because that, yeah, I didn't. So, and that's, I mean, is that something that, because I would like to go into that a little bit because
yeah.
I have questions, just like, so being trans now, wait, and also, did you listen to my voice memo where I was like, my last guest talked about how Capricorn is, represents a gender switching, like that if you
Yeah,
I was like, that is so cool. I was like, anyways, so I thought that was really fascinating. So now growing up, you just always felt like, how was that in your feelings and being true to you? Like, how did you come to stand strong in how you knew that you were? You know what I mean? Like, and how are your parents supportive or not? Like, and because I
well,
imagine that that would be forming to, like, that's a huge part of your path. I view it that
yeah.
way, So how do you view that as in with your parents and caretaking and sisters, siblings, and all of those things?
So honestly, looking back, I knew pretty early on. I mean, from I'd say the time I was 3 years old, I was telling people, I'm a boy, my name's Joe, like, and my parents, kind of, it was like a situation where they were like, oh, just a tomboy, they'll grow out of it, that kind of situation. Um, but my dad, growing up, very much let me wear what I wanted, cut my hair how I want. I always had
Mm.
short hair. I wore boys' clothes, boys' underwear. I ran around, outside without my shirt on until I was 13 years old when it obviously was, I was blessed with not, forming anything early, but 13 years old, my dad was like, yeah, you can't be running around without a shirt on. Well, it was also very much a situation where it was like, CPS was being called and involved and was like,
Okay.
he's letting, his daughter dress like a boy and tell people that she's a boy and blah, blah, blah. And so, um,
Hmm.
yeah, so whenever we transitioned into we kind of were in and out of the foster care system a lot growing up. But whenever we transitioned into the foster care system, I think I was about fourth grade, um, is when they were forcing me to wear girl clothes. They were forcing me to have long hair, to like they forced me to get my ears pierced to make me look more feminine. They were making me do like cheerleading, like they were,
Yeah.
yeah, very much.
Well,
um
were the foster parents or like,
yeah, yeah.
oh,
So and actually
mm,
our foster mom at the time was the only good foster parent we had, and we were in like 6 homes growing up. But
mhm.
she was very much religious, and I think CPS was also kind of like giving a dress code kind of thing, just because that was one of the things that was brought up as neglectful, was how he allowed us to dress and cut our hair and stuff like that. So anytime he would get us anything, like because I would say, can you get me underwear? Like I don't like the underwear they give me, and he would, and they would just take them. Like any clothes he brought us, they would take them. Anything at all. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that, and then I'd say in middle school, I kind of tried to start fitting in more. Because people were making fun of me and being mean, and I just wanted to have friends and fit in. I didn't care. I just wanted friends. So
Yeah.
um, I kind of started to dress girlier and do my hair and makeup and stuff, and then um, I'd say freshman year in high school, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing all of that. So I went back to just dressing how I wanted to, and that's kind of around the time where I started dating girls. So I was like, maybe just dating girls will be enough. Like
Hmm.
I don't have to be a boy. I'll just date girls. So I did that, and then yeah, and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm just not being myself, and I don't feel like myself. So, but actually, my dad was pretty okay about it. He was which is weird because he was very much not okay with when I came out as a lesbian. He literally threw me through a wall, and like
Mm.
anytime after that I was like sick or anything, he's like, well, yeah, it's because you're gay, blah blah blah. Like, so whenever I came
Wow.
out as trans, and he was like, okay, so what? He's like, I still love you. He said, I don't care, it's you're my kid. And I was very much thrown back by that. I was grateful that he responded in that way,
Yeah.
because we did just start to like regain a relationship at that time whenever I told him that. So it
Hmm.
was kind of like, okay, like I'm surprised you reacted that way, but I'm grateful.
Yeah. That is really fascinating because yeah, it sounded like to me with him allowing you to, or not allowing, but letting you do your thing, like running around however you wanted or felt comfortable doing that, that he, didn't have a problem with that. So that is fascinating. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think my mom would have been a supportive about it. I mean, obviously she passed away when I was 12, so um I don't know, but she was one of those people who just she saw, your heart and your soul. She didn't see the body or anything like that, or your mistakes, or anything like that. So
Hmm. So you carry her heart. You have her heart.
yeah, I'd say so.
I don't know why. I just like want to cry. Like that's really beautiful because and like you and I have talked. I feel that way. I feel like spirit just doesn't know body. Spirit is like all about the love and how you are to your fellow people,
Right.
and yeah, it's just really I feel very blessed to have you in my life because I just love you so much.
Oh, that's sweet. I feel blessed to have you. I love you. You
So,
actually, it's funny, because whenever we first connected, I was telling my fiance, I was like, she reminds me so much of like my mom, like just like how kind she is, and like how like she just radiates like just this like energy that I feel like people are really drawn to, because it's just like that warm, like nurturing, understanding, like energy that you have.
oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I'm glad that I bring that energy to you and hopefully others as well. So Very cool that you can relate that to your mom. Which also is, so when your mom passed when you were 12, and how did she pass?
So well, the story we were told, it kind of switched a couple times, but I think that it was probably she was drunk and she couldn't wake herself up, but she asphyxiated on her own vomit in a hotel. So,
Okay.
and she was found by the housekeeping. So,
Wow.
yeah, but yeah, there's so much there. I mean, my mom's younger sister believes that her boyfriend at the time murdered her and left her in the hotel, and then the my aunt's a little out there sometimes, but she
Hmm.
also stole my mom's ashes, so there's that. Yeah, there's that family drama. Yeah, I literally, for since the time I was 12, I've been fighting with my two aunts about trying to get my mom's ashes, or at least some of them, for
Yeah.
my sister and I to spread, because we wanted to do what my mom wanted, and she wanted to her ashes to be dumped over the Grand Canyon out of a helicopter. So we were going to do that for her, but they're like they will not hand them over. So we might have to do something like
Improvise.
metaphorically, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's not like, I think it's
It's just
like,
really about the intention, I think.
yeah, yeah, and not to waste your precious energy towards something, that
Right.
just could cause more, riff. So, well, and that's really too bad, because I mean that's very sad just for many reasons, but I feel um when your mom passed, and I feel this very strongly, that like you coming into the space that you are is like not letting her name die in vain, like living out the energy of your mom, and being
Right.
able to bring that forward for people. So, oof, got chills with that one. So that's really cool, because I do feel like a lot of times when people are super sensitive to energies and to emotions and aren't able to distinguish, it's like they go to drinking and trying to numb that. So,
Yeah, and I think for me the drinking actually was, I was feeling everything around me so much that I felt like it was all mine to carry. And I didn't really know how, like, in a wake, we learn how to protect ourselves from those energies and not let them attach to us. But like, I'm very much a person who can walk into a room and I can sense every energy around me. Yeah, like when I was younger, I would very much just kind of let it all attach to me. So, um,
yeah,
yeah, so it was very much like trying to numb that in a sense, I think.
for sure. Well, and
Yeah,
then, yeah, you just don't know how to navigate all of those things. And especially being a caretaker and somebody who wants to protect people,
right.
like that you're like this, like playing a superhero, and we're not superheroes, at least not in that
Right.
sense, but in our own way. No,
Yeah, in
but
our own ways.
so, okay, so then this brings, let's go back to, okay, so your mom passed and you were in, so when you started getting into foster homes, that was like around, you said what, how old were you?
So the first foster home, I think I was around 5 years old.
Okay. Okay. And then when you went into the military, that was like your sophomore year of college, basically.
It was the first semester after my freshman year,
Okay.
so Um, yeah, so it would have been going into that second half of that year.
Sorry, I'm just getting the, because I don't have the
Um,
pro. Yeah.
okay.
So I'll just send you a new link and, in a little bit, like 5 minutes or something like that. So
Okay.
if you're still up for going,
Yeah.
continue on. Awesome. Um, okay. So then in the military, yeah. So let's continue on from there. So you had this realization and a lot of shit came at you all at once.
Yeah.
And why the military?
Honestly, it was kind of like a big thing in my family. Like
Okay.
a lot of the men in my family have been in the military. My dad was always bragging about his great grandfather and how he was, a pilot in the army and all that. So it was just, I felt like it was an easy way because they take care of you in the military in a sense to where I didn't know, what I was going to do. I was on my own for like the first time and I didn't want to go back to my parents, so I was like, I got to figure something out. But I also, in high school, I wanted to be in the Marines, which I did try to join before the Army, but because of my tattoos, I couldn't join. So I had to
Oh,
change it. And the Army is a lot less um, worried about, tattoos and stuff like that. So
hmm.
I ended up going with the Army, which I'm grateful for my experience in the Army. I feel um, like basic training and like the AIT training and stuff, it was definitely in like my wheelhouse of like what I like to do, like doing obstacle courses and challenges and, challenging myself, pushing myself to, different limits and, um, just like the active side of it was very much something I enjoyed and that, um, just that amount of stability, we very much had everything mapped out throughout the day, which I like having a plan. I mean, I'm an adventurous person, but I like to have like routine too. So, um, I liked that part of it, but I think that after that, I, I didn't, I didn't like it. It was, it's very much a low vibration, very much a vibrational environment, and very toxic. Um,
Mm.
there's a lot of assault and a lot of stuff like that that upper enlisted gets away with. Like the captains and the officers and the sergeants and stuff. And I didn't like it. I didn't feel like it was upholding the values that we swore to when we joined, and that's what I didn't like. I felt like it was a false image, you know,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
because what I went in for was, to protect and to serve and to learn and to you know um, come out with something, but I feel like anytime I like spoke up about anything that was happening as far as like assault and stuff like that, it was always kind of swept under the rug. I even dealt with like uh, something with I was a sergeant, and my sergeant above me, very much a racist person and like homophobic person and a transphobic person, and he made it known, and he would
Mm.
say things like that to me, like about like how he hated like one of the other sergeants because he was gay and he can't believe and he wants to spit in his face and like just stuff like that, which I had reported, and there was so much more, but I had reported him for these things, and it very much got swept under the rug and um, brushed off, so it's just, yeah, it's
Yeah, it almost feels like I mean, it's such a protected piece of society, right? Like it's so like, and even like speaking up against that stuff, like is almost like asking for, not like,
Yeah,
like how, so just like awesome that you did speak up, first of all, because that's, I feel probably huge, even like within that community to even like
right.
be brave enough to speak up about things that you see would be really,
Yeah,
I mean, I feel I would be scared.
yeah, it definitely is a scary, scary environment to speak up in, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, that's right around the time where I ended up finding out that I had celiac, um, which got me out of the military. So,
Okay.
um, I actually fought
Wow.
to stay in, but they wouldn't they wouldn't accommodate my meals. So it was kind of like either you don't eat or you get out. So I had to get out, but I very much think that it was kind of like a blessing. Like
Oh, for
my
sure.
body was protecting me by creating this, and
That's
actually, the beautiful thing about it is at ceremony, like ever since ceremony, I haven't had any issues with my stomach or like my celiac acting up, and it used to be like every day, like my stomach
wow.
I'd be like curled in a ball in pain, and I haven't had that at all since.
Wow, that is so like yeah, when the body speaks up, obviously, like I was saying this morning, but when it speaks up like that, I mean, and it makes you listen to what is happening around you and protects you like that, it's hard to be like, oh, yeah, like those things absolutely at that time it may not have felt like a blessing, but now, you look back and
Right.
you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
And
that's
it was actually it was like a beautiful moment actually because I remember I was downstairs in the basement laying on the couch, and this was at ceremony,
mm,
and Rebecca like comes like storming in, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm fine, like my stomach is just hurting. And she said, stand up right now. And so I stood up, and she's like, you gotta start doing this right now, like this. And like she's like freaking out. She's like, no, spirit just told me I need to come find you and tell you to do this. And I was like, okay. So she's like, you got to cut the ties. You got to cut the ties. And she's like, there's two like ties coming out of you, like from your stomach, and you got to cut those. And like, um, that's like creating like this like celiac in you. And like, what we were like, so whatever. I did that and all that. And, um, we went to sit out by the fire, and I was just sitting there, and I was kind of like, and I'm thinking, and like, she looks at me and she goes, stop worrying about what the tie, like who the ties are to. And I was like, are you like, get out of my head? Like, how are you doing this? And she's like, you don't need to know who the ties are to. All you need to know is that you need to cut them. Like you don't have to worry about it because the spirit is just telling you just to trust that you need to cut these ties, and that's it. And I was like, okay. So
and
I
ever
just thought that
since,
was very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, that is so rad. Oh my gosh, that is really cool. I don't think you told me about that experience, but
No, I just
that's pretty
actually thought
powerful.
about it, thinking about how like I haven't had any issues with my stomach, and it was like since that night. So
Wow,
yeah,
that is really cool. And that's also perfect timing. So I'll end this one and I'll send you the next link.
okay.
Okay. Recording in progress. So yeah. Um, cool. So okay, so now we got into yeah, that's a great segue to go from like, you know, thinking of how things that are seemingly awful things happening actually turn out to be like blessings in disguise, you know. So okay, so now you haven't dealt with these tummy issues since you had ceremony and stuff. That is huge. Have you noticed anything else? I'm just curious myself. Like, have you noticed anything else since, you know, embarking deeper into the healing?
You mean like integrating like the healing afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I would say so. Definitely some healing like around like my own insecurities and you know, like not feeling like I'm good enough or um, you know, my fears around, you know, putting myself out there or um, you know, speaking to people that I don't know or, you know, posting on social media, stuff like that. So I've definitely been like facing issues head on since I definitely have like uncovered like more, if that makes sense, like
Yeah.
trauma and stuff that I could just remember. Um, but I've also been able to remember like more of the good things since like starting, you know, the healing journey. Um, and like before it was like I wouldn't be able to remember like my mom's laugh or like her smile, you know, but could very much remember like her crying and like stuff like that, you know. But
Mm.
like since, you know, healing some of the things that I've healed, I've been able to like remember, you know, different moments with like my parents that weren't, you know, bad. So
That's such a huge blessing because yeah, especially embarking on a lot of the dark shit, right? Like it's just it can become tiresome.
yeah,
Like, so what? I'm only gonna be uncovering all this bullshit. Like,
right.
no, there's also, you know, yeah. I mean, so now I'm curious as well. Do you find that you had okay, okay, so many things are coming at me right now. So the type of trauma that you are uncovering or that you had experienced, now what type of trauma is that like for you?
Um, just like different like physical trauma, verbal trauma that I'm remembering.
Mm,
Like, you know, like I said, like for me, a lot of it just kind of jumbled together and like
hmm.
when that happens, you don't really remember like more of the finer details of like situations, you know. Um, I've uncovered more like sexual trauma that I didn't even like realize, like, you know, when I was experiencing like the sexual trauma, I thought it was more like of like a one or two time situation, but like, you know, as I've been like uncovering more of the trauma and healing, it's like, you know, it was years of, you know, sexual abuse and stuff like that. So definitely just more so uncovering more of like the same type of abuse, just
Yeah.
realizing it was deeper than, you know, what I thought, you know.
Yeah. So, because that was like my thing of my next question was going to be, do you just like blocked out periods of your life, you know, versus like situational? So, yeah, if these are coming back and as like blocked times, yeah, definitely that's so. How have you like when that stuff comes up, are you in session? Like, are you, or is it coming up just like in your day-to-day life when you're remembering? Because a lot of times people do experience these things where, you know, healing comes in from your peripheral into your main vision, and then it unlocks all of these things, and people just don't necessarily know what to expect, and then can get disturbing, disturbing memories, and it is disturbing. I don't know how else to put it. However, so like,
Yeah.
how have you been able to work through that, and how has that shown up for you?
Um, so for me, it is sometimes just like a random moment, or like, I'd say it could be something I see or something I smell, or like,
Mm,
just something familiar, and then it can bring back like a memory, and I'm like, what? Or like sometimes in meditation, like the
mm,
memories will come to me, and I'll just sit with them in meditation and work through them, and you know and a lot of the time for me, it's not like something that feels heavy. It's just kind of like, okay, that's something I need to like heal and like go into, like it's like I feel like I'm able to dissociate myself from the event enough to like be able to see it from an outside perspective, and being able to see things from like that outside perspective, it kind of takes away that um like that sense of it's happening to me. It's you're just watching it happen. You're watching it play out like a movie, and
yeah.
it's just, so like the feelings are detached for me. I don't like and then there are times where I'll like
Mm,
cry during it, like
yeah.
because it makes me sad for like the little person I was. Like it doesn't make me sad for me now. You know,
Right.
yeah. So
And that's a huge realization. Yeah. Like I remember like feeling compassion for yourself. Like
right,
that's huge. That's
yeah.
so huge. And like, so is there any anger that comes up with the perpetrators? I don't, plural or not plural, or, like, how does that become? Because I know in my last guest, like she all of a sudden felt like she tried to stab her perpetrator. So, and not really knowing where that anger came from. But so like, have you experienced anything similar to that at all?
I think I've never like really been like, I mean, when I was a kid, I was a very angry child just because of like the environment I grew up in. I thought that was like the way you react or show your feelings, you know what I mean? But I've like, once I like learned that that's not how you show your feelings, or I'm just a very calm person, and I don't do anger really, honestly. And if I do anger, it's really mostly anger at myself. I'm very much a forgiving person, and I think it's just I can see situations from the outside perspective, and I feel like when you're able to do that, you kind of like take away the suffering factor, because when you're in your own idea of how things should be, your own ego idea of how a situation should be, you're in that control, which is ego, and not in flow, then you're not going to be happy no matter what the outcome is. You know what I mean? So if you just allow things to
Mm,
be what they are and see things for what they are, and even I've even, been able to see things in like situations where I have been the person who was wasteful of someone else's time or energy, or just I was using someone else, or hurting someone else, or um not being truthful with how I felt towards someone else, and in those situations, I've been able to give myself, grace and understanding and forgiveness, and also in doing that, I've been able to do the same for others. I've been able to see that, they're human and they make mistakes, and just because in my eyes it was wrong, it doesn't mean that they're at that part of their journey yet where they can look at that situation and be like, oh, like I was wrong for that. Some people are just in their own hurt, so I've really been able to be understanding, of myself. And I feel like that was the hardest part for me, was being understanding with myself, and being um, kind with myself and not like holding things against myself. And it's just made it easier to do it with others too, so I very much forgive people right away. I don't hold on to anything. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And I feel like so many people, and I love how you said there's operating in their hurt, or I forget how you said it, but it's like, yes, most people are operating from a place of their own hurts, and something else that came up was like you expressing how the more that you have forgiven yourself and grow the compassion for yourself, the easier it is for you to have that for others. And I feel that a lot of society forgets or isn't aware of that, actually, that we ourselves are the barometer for how we treat others. Like how we treat ourselves is the barometer for how the tolerance and love and acceptance and compassion for others is as well. So that, I like that word barometer, but
Yeah, I like that too.
so,
But
yeah, that's huge, because that is, I mean, that's very, very difficult to get, and it's still, it's just so many layers, of that.
right. Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, I feel like just the person I am now is so much different from like the person I was a year ago. I feel like, because I mean, like what started this whole thing for me was, um, a lot. There was a lot to unpack, but like I didn't really think that there was a whole lot to unpack until my father passed away
mm,
last year. So when he passed away, it was just like boom. I was like back to that 5-year-old little kid, lost in the Walmart, looking for my parents, like terrified, like alone, and that's how I felt. And then just all of these things started flooding back, and I was at a moment where I was like, I need to find something to pull me out of this, or I'm going to get consumed by it. I was like, I cannot let the darkness like consume me again, because I was just at a point where I was like, I don't know if, I'll be strong enough this time to pull myself out of it.
yeah.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, I gotta find something. And then that's when I actually came across Awake, which it wasn't even like the first thing I came across. I was like 6 hours deep into researching different things, and I actually started with looking for like a Reiki person near me to do like some energy healing. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to figure out how to like learn Reiki by myself. I'll do it myself. And then it was like, oh, but you know what? Natural plant medicine, I've heard some good podcast stories about that. So then I started looking into that. And then I was like 12 pages deep in Google, and that's when I found Awake. Yeah, so it was on the 12th page. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's what I got to do. So,
Yeah, honestly, that's so cool, like how that all unfolds, like how, like we were saying at the beginning of this, because yeah, even just from the little bit that I participated in the group, I mean, it was the nudge that I needed. And plus, absolutely, like, I'm like, even if, my friendship with you and Grace, if those are, or people, other people that I have also met there, like, that's just huge. And
Right.
like, that could be just it. So, um, so let's talk about too. How did you meet your fiance and bringing her into this, and like, how is she into like what we do?
Yeah, so we actually met through a mutual friend um 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. Um and we started out as friends. We were actually best friends, and at the time I was in a pretty abusive relationship um with a very controlling person. She wouldn't let me have friends and was always going through my phone. There was a point where she thought I was cheating on her. She threw my phone at my face and punched me in the face, broke my eye socket. Yeah, so it was
Mm,
just I was in a very toxic relationship, but at the time, um, we were fostering two little girls, and I didn't want them to be left with her alone because she didn't really uh, take care of them. I took care of them. So I knew, if I left, then she would, because she was the primary foster parent, so she would be the primary. I wouldn't have been able to take them.
right, right.
Um, so I was kind of just trying to suffer it out. Um, but yeah, so Jocelyn kind of was like a rock for me. We were friends. Like anytime I needed her, she would be there for me, and I'd be there for her. Um, Me and my ex ended up breaking up, which was long overdue. Like,
Right.
uh, just bad environment. But um, and then we ended up dating a few months after that. So and we're getting married September. So
Virgo season's the best season. I'm just
my
kidding.
sister's a Virgo, and
Uh,
actually Capricorn. Capricorns get along best with Virgos. So
well, no wonder.
yeah, literally.
Yeah, because that's only 5 days after my birthday. So, yeah, super cool. And actually Capricorn is my ascendant too. So go
Oh,
figure.
really?
Yeah.
I'm like actually more Aquarius in my chart than I am Capricorn.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I'm like, yeah,
I mean, I am a lot of Capricorn, but more so Aquarius. And
yeah,
I definitely feel like my personality is more Aquarius than Capricorn.
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Because I had to like check myself, like, right, he's not Aquarius, he's Capricorn. Yes, he's Capricorn. Yeah. But
Yeah,
and that's the cool thing too, because along with Awake and learning Reiki and plant medicine and also energy healing, NLP and hypnosis and everything that Awake has to offer, you also have dove into astrology, and you're also learning about all of those things as well,
yeah,
correct?
yeah. It's actually it's mind blowing how much you can learn from astrology, and you know,
Yeah.
even before, like even a few months ago, I thought like I was definitely Capricorn, around like through and through, like all aspects. I thought I fit in with the Capricorn, but then looking deeper into my chart, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely more, of Aquarius in some of these things, or and it's also crazy how like spot on some of it is with like the patterns because of our personalities that we'll face in our life. Like I'm like, wow, how did you know that? Like not like some of them are things that um how like the pattern says, if you haven't dealt with this then you'll be like this, or if you've healed this you'll be like this.
Yeah.
Like some of the things it says about like if you haven't healed this, like I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because I can look back and see how I was exactly like this before I, healed that. So it's incredible how much goes into it, and how much you can actually learn from it.
It's a lifelong study. It
Hmm.
honestly, it's like once I started to unpack astrology and be like, holy buckets, and it's so beautiful because it's not really to even like I feel like you have used all of these tools as a way to understand yourself more, and to be
Right.
able to, again, the barometer, the more we're able to understand ourselves
That's
and
what I was gonna say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The more we can understand the human psyche and how to best serve others. So that's so cool that you're getting that, you're getting into that. And it's huge, I feel, to be able to see all of the how everything is connected.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just, I'm very much enjoying the journey of it all, and just keeping like a childlike curiosity around life, just
Yeah.
being excited to learn things and to experience things, and to have that, level of creativity and
Mhm.
imagination, because imagination is creation. If you can envision it, you can create it for yourself. So it's just like, kind of like going back to that childlike mindset, like the earth is a playground, like have fun, and like just enjoy it. Like, I mean, even lately, I've just been just enjoying things more, hugging trees, singing and
Literally,
dancing, and
literally hugging.
literally hugging trees. I'll literally sit there for 15 minutes hugging a tree, giving it Reiki, and just showing gratitude, and just, and it's so funny because before, like, I would have like the sense and want to do things like that, and I wouldn't, because I'm like, people are gonna think I'm like crazy. They're gonna call someone to come pick me up and arrest me. But like, now I do it. I don't care. People can walk by me and laugh and stare and, you know, giggle, say things. I don't care, because I'm just doing me, and showing, gratitude to like the earth and the beauty of nature, and the birds, and the animals, just taking a moment to slow down and actually be present.
And that's really what it's like all about, is like the magic in the mundane. And
Right.
it's it's once because it's all of those other things that have happened before this that taint the way that we see the world. So to be able to go back and like, I'm seeing this all for the first time
Hmm.
and like
It
legit
really
feel it.
does feel like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so like there's nothing more pure and healing than that, because it's
Hmm.
nothing huge, it's just everything.
Right. I even find myself, like, when I'm sitting in traffic on my way home from work, I'm just like looking out the window, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm grateful that, we're kind of just moving slow, so I can look out the window and like see the clouds, and, look at the sky and the trees and the way the wind's blowing them and they're swaying, and, like, and I'm like, that's so crazy, because before I would be so pissed off to be sitting here in traffic when I just want to get home, after working all day. And like, it's nice to be able to slow down in the moments that we'd usually take for granted, and just have appreciation for that moment, and to be able to find something beautiful in every moment, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really just, that's what I've been trying to do, just find the beauty in everything, and show gratitude, and,
And you
just trying to be
have been
present.
doing it, not trying, you are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feels good too, and it's like, when you think about it, it's like, it sounds so hard to do those things, because it's so easy to be in misery. It's
Mm,
so easy to stay stuck in your bullshit, I think. I mean,
yeah.
even when I was talking to Rebecca about ceremony, and then she was trying to figure out why I like wanted to hold on to it, and I
Mm.
kind of like had a realization. I was like, it's because I like to be in the misery. I like to be in the misery because I feel like if I'm not in that misery, then how do I prove that I've been through it? You know, how do I prove that those things happened to me? And like I lived those things, you know, if I don't act like a victim, if I don't treat myself like a victim, or, you know, and
Hmm.
yeah, and I was like, that's so awful that I think that I feel like first of all have to be a victim, you know, because I'm not, you know, and
Hmm.
yeah, so definitely have like it was like an unlearning of like needing to be stuck in the misery. And I feel like it also is like why be happy when it's going to be taken from you, you know, or kind of thing, because I very much am like a person who like fears people leaving me, because you know my life has been
Wow.
people coming in and then leaving. You know, my mom left, my dad left, you know, like I had many other people that I became attached to throughout my life that like were like parental figures to me that kind of just left and brushed me off at a certain point, you know. And so it's
Hmm.
always been like if you're happy it could be taken from you in my mind, but then like also unlearning that, because happiness comes from yourself. You know, if you're happy with yourself, then no one can affect that, no one can take that from you, you know. So it's definitely been like a lot of like unlearning, you know, that trauma response. And I wouldn't say trauma bond as in like a trauma bond with another person, but I'd say like bonding with my trauma. Literally, like I
Yeah.
felt like a sense of like comfort in my trauma almost, you know, where I didn't feel a sense of comfort, you know, from anywhere around me, kind of thing. And I've been able now to find that comfort within myself. So
You know, and that's, I mean, all of those things that you just brought up is like profound, you know, what, and that's because a lot of people don't go past that tipping point, you know, like it's difficult to go to the other side, you know, of
right.
like being okay with being happy.
Mhm.
Like, you know, because you're right there, it's that's the expectation of life, or you know, having it take, or the just the perception of happiness and what that actually is, you know, is
Right.
trust.
And the goal is never to be just happy all the time, you know. And I think that's also something that people don't understand about the like awakening journey and the spiritual journey, is like a lot of people think like we're like, you know, oh Zen, like you have to be like happy, radiant all the time. Like it's not always about that, you know.
No.
Like sometimes there are going to be moments when, you know, you're in a bad mood or you're upset, you know. That's the duality of it, that's the human experience, you know. There's always going to be a moment when you're not feeling at your best, but that's, you know, a part of it. And that's also part of like realizing, you know, and being grateful for those moments too, because those are the moments that make you so much more happy for the good moments, and appreciative of the good moments, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's honoring your process, no matter what that is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like, you know, there's always going to be another mountain to climb, you know. There's You just gotta put your shoes on and lace them up and get going, you know, because the view, it's beautiful from up top.
Indeed, it is. It is so beautiful. Oh,
But if you're always on top, then you might forget the view is beautiful, you know, you might forget to appreciate it.
yeah, it's so true. It's always evolving. It's always evolving and changing too.
Right.
So,
Even what we want for ourselves, you know, like
yeah. That's what I'm embarking right now. So, well, I think that's a beautiful place to wrap up right now. Yeah, because that timer went off and everything too. So we, I am really looking forward to getting this together and being able to put this out and be able to get your energy out there. And so when will you have your website? Are you working on your website? Or are you waiting till after the wedding?
Yeah, I'm working on it now. It's almost done. I just got a couple more things that I have to finish up on, finishing touches, making it look all pretty and put together. But yeah, it's almost done.
Very cool. And what will that be called when you're all done? Or what is
Um, it's Apollo Holistic Wellness,
it?
LLC.
Okay, Apollo Holistic Wellness. Very cool. I'm so excited for you and just again, just grateful to have you in my life and a part of this journey. So
I'm grateful for you too, and thank you for letting me join on your podcast. I love it, and I'm so excited.
I know, and definitely we'll, be talking more about having you on again in the future too to, however this unfolds, we'll see.
Right.
So we'll
Yeah.
just letting spirit take it. So
Yeah.
very cool. All right. Well, I'm sending so much love. Enjoy the rest of your vacation and
Thank you.
go play in the water. Go.
Yeah, it's hot out here.
Bye.
I'm gonna.
Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you so much and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.